Looking for a new career? Welcome to Do HVAC Training Service Center in North Charleston. Enroll today in our comprehensive HVAC training hands-on field experience-based program, covering troubleshooting, maintenance, installation, and more on various HVAC systems and ductwork. We offer EPA and NAEC preparation and testing, along with various certifications. Enjoy payment options. Achieve certification in under 5 months. Enroll now for your new journey of skill development and career advancement. Log on to dewhvactrainingsc.com to inquire.
Hey, it's Matthew, and before we jump into the episode, I just wanted to share a little bit of love that I have for the Having It All Blueprint course, because I've been in the space that you might find yourself in right now, where you're feeling frustrated. Maybe you're feeling a little bit lost or confused, like you don't have direction, or you aren't really clear on your purpose, or you don't know why you keep starting and stopping things in your life. And you feel like you're kind of caught in this cycle and you just keep repeating the same things again and again. I've totally been there, and I've seen the impact that that has on my health and on my relationships and on everything that I experience in my life. And what I have done in the Having It All Blueprint is pour in the frameworks and the systems and all the different mindset shifts and changes that I did on myself, first and foremost, that I lived and have walked for so many years, that have helped to create a huge transformation in my life. And I put all of that in the blueprint. And the result of me living everything that I teach in the blueprint is that I attracted an incredible queen into my life. I took really bold steps in my work and with entrepreneurship. I reached all new heights in my fitness and in my health. I became a father and fully embraced the role of raising a little girl. And I helped to create an amazing community of people who are there to love me and support me and to fill me up. And all of that is because I walk the walk. And so if you've been feeling any of that frustration, any of that overwhelm, any of that feeling of just being uninspired in your life, and you're ready to walk the walk, then the blueprint can be an incredible tool for you. It can help you do just that. And if you're interested, you can go to matthewbivens.com/blueprint to learn more. And if you're not, if this isn't the timing for you, that's okay too, because the timing has to be right. And so when the timing is right for you, it'll be there. Thank you so much for giving me those couple of minutes. Let's now jump into today's episode. Welcome to the Having It All podcast, the show about what it takes to live an abundant, loving life. My name is Matthew Bivens, and each week I'm helping you get out of your head so that you can truly have it all. Let's do it. What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Having It All podcast. I am so excited you're hanging out with me today to have this beautiful, powerful, raw, real, amazing conversation. My name is Matthew Bivens, and I'm going to be your host as we dig into what it looks like to have it all in your life. You know, I was so intentional when I created the name for this podcast, Having It All, because that idea is so polarizing. People either believe you can have it all or they believe that you can't. And I don't want to sit on the fence on anything in life. I want to be firmly planted in one belief and one opinion and be bold enough to speak it. And what I'm saying to you right now is that you can absolutely have it all. Every single person on this planet can have it all. And the way that we define all here on this podcast is an abundant, loving life. That means you can experience life in all of its abundance. Abundance of friendships, abundance of love, abundance of money, abundance of joy, all of it. And you can love your experience. You can love how you're showing up. You can love your experience of all of it. It is possible for every single person. And if that's something that you just don't agree with, then you may not like what we're going to dig into in this podcast. Today's episode is pretty cool because I'm talking about how it is so important for each one of us to be our own hype men and hype women. It's time to bring the self-hype. It's time for us to really talk highly of ourselves, promote ourselves, recognize the things that we've accomplished in our lives. And it's time for us to really take a bold stance for ourselves. And so that's what I'm digging into today. It's a really cool episode. You're going to be given permission to bring your own self-hype. Yeah, I'm giving you permission today. I'm going to do it in a very cool way. So I'm excited about that. Let's dig into some magical moments because that's how we always kick this podcast off. We got to kick it off with magical moments because that's how you truly know and feel that you have it all. When you look around your life and you're like, oh my God, I am so freaking powerful. Look at all these things that I am creating and co-creating. I have my hand in all of it and it's all beautiful. Whether it's things that I enjoy or things I don't enjoy, you are still the person who's behind creating it. And that's what we recognize here in magical moments. So as a refresher, magic is when you influence self, others, and life in an empowering way, and you're doing it all the time. Yes. So my magic is actually tied to today's topic. So last week, after we wrapped up our Tuesday night play camp here in Atlanta, here's a quick plug for that. If you're ever in Atlanta on a Tuesday evening, come by, check it out, totally free. I'll put you through a conscious fitness class. It's something like you've never experienced before, so check it out. And so last week we were going through our play camp, and we were at the end, and we were sharing magic. And one of the things that had struck me was it had been about 3 years since I took over play camp from Sarah, because she was doing it prior to me, and she was complete about 8 months into our pregnancy. So just shy of 3 years. And I took it over, and I was reflecting on how far I have come as a leader in play camp, how much I have grown. Because for the first at least year of me doing it, I was nervous. Like, you know, the afternoon leading up to when I would leave to head to play camp, I would be thinking about, okay, what are we going to do today? What exercises are we going to do today? And I would really, you know, go online and do some research and just kind of go through my brain and think of something new and creative. I always had this pressure of it's got to be fun, it's got to be new, it's got to be creative. And there's one exercise in particular where I needed my watch to time everything. So I would write down all the times on this little note card, and I would use my note card. And I just, you know, I was excited for play camp, but it also made me nervous to be in front of all these people and to lead and have all these eyes focused on me. Even though it was a role that I had done before. I've been a coach before. I've led groups before. But it was just this particular one created some nerves. And that lasted for about a year. And so last week when I was reflecting on that, I realized that today it is so different. I've grown. I've grown as a leader. I've evolved as a leader. My confidence in leading has just shot through the roof. And in last week's play camp, we had about double the amount of people that I was anticipating. So I had an idea in my mind of what we wanted to do, and then twice the amount of people showed up. So I just tossed that whole idea out, and I did what I like to say is I'm going to call an audible. That's from football. That's where the quarterback changes the play right at the last moment. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to call an audible, and we just freestyled the entire play camp. And you know, a couple years ago, that would have freaked me out to just completely toss the playbook out and just trust myself and go with it. And, you know, not worry about what are people going to think? Are they going to feel like I'm distracted or disoriented? Are they going to feel like I'm disorganized? Are they going to be bored? You know, none of those thoughts crept into my mind last week. And that to me was magic because I was able to reflect on the growth over 3 years. 3 years of leading this event. And so that was incredibly magical for me. And it's directly tied into today's topic. And you'll see why in just a minute. And so that was my magic. And now I invite you to pause and reflect on some magic in your life. Where have you influenced yourself in an empowering way lately? Or how have you influenced another person in an empowering way? Or maybe you've just influenced life, the universe, and things have shown up and you're like, man, can't make that up. Like you're walking down the street, you're like, dang, you know, I thought I had $20, but I'm a little short on my bill this week, and then all of a sudden you look down, there's a $20 bill. Like that stuff happens. That stuff happens all the time. So now is the time to reflect on it, to remember those moments, and to acknowledge that you played a hand in creating those moments. So I encourage you, pause the episode right now, reflect on your magical moment, and then we'll continue and we'll flow into some listener love.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
in that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Today's listener love is, I'm excited about this one because I'm actually going to see this individual a little bit later on today. I want to give a shout out to Kristen. And Kristen, you've been a listener for several months now, and you've had some really awesome feedback for me about the podcast. And it's what's really great is that we get a chance to interact live, and that's very cool. I always love when I get a chance to meet you live, and we can engage and we can have actual back. So, Kristen, I appreciate you so much for listening to the podcast. I appreciate everything that you've shared with me about the episodes that have resonated with you, and just thank you for supporting it, and really thank you for being it, right? Because this isn't just a show where we talk. I'm not interested in just talking to you all. I'm really not. What I'm playing for is inspiration, and inspiration for me requires action. So I want you to hear things that we talk about on this show, and then I want you to go and act on them. In whatever way that inspires you, whatever way that moves you, but act. Get into action. It's so important we get into action because it's really easy these days to just consume content, listen to podcasts, read blogs, read books, watch TED Talks, whatever. We can just sit there and be consumers all day long, but we aren't going to actually go out there and put the things to work. So I'm so inspired when people are putting things into action, and Kristen, you are one of those people. So thank you so much for being a listener and a supporter. Yes, I love it. If you want to be like Kristen and you want to connect with me and just share with me something that has impacted you from the podcast, that would be awesome. That would be a big deposit for me. You can share a little bit of feedback, or maybe what's something that you just didn't agree with. I'd love to hear that too. I'm always looking to upgrade my beliefs, add new beliefs into my toolkit, and wear them on and see if they work for me. So if something you just didn't agree with, share that also. I've had a lot of folks reach out and talk to me about abundant love in particular, and how the love style that I've created in my life just didn't agree with them. And what's really beautiful is when people say, you know what, I needed to leave your show for a little while. I didn't like what I heard. I thought you had this really wonderful family and relationship, and then I heard, how you and Sarah live your life, and now it doesn't vibe with me anymore. And they'll leave, and then months down the road, they might come back and say, you know what though? You were on my mind. I wanted to reach back out. Like that happens a lot. And what's really beautiful about that is, I get a chance to hear what you think about this stuff. And I love that. So share with me, whatever it is that comes up. I'd love to hear it. You can connect on Instagram. That's my favorite way to connect right now. Matthew_Bivens at Instagram. And you can also hit me up old school through email, mattcbivens@gmail.com. I would love to connect. I would love to get into conversation and relationship with you. That'd be a beautiful thing. All right. Let's dig into today's topic. I'm excited. If you can see me right now, I'm bouncing a little bit. I got the mic in front of me. I feel like a hype man, right? I feel like a hype man at a hip hop show. And that's the whole point of today's episode. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit about what we're talking about. What I mean by bringing the hype, bringing the self-hype, being your own hype man, being your own hype woman. I want to talk about what that means, and then I'm going to share why it's so important, why you want to be doing that in your life. Then I'm going to share with you the story, right? The story that's actually connected to my magic, the story about feeling awkward being my own hype man. Because it was very recent. It was just 1 week ago. And that's what inspired this. I was like, man, this feels just weird to me. And that's what it really inspired this episode. And then lastly, and this is the coolest part, I'm going to give you permission to be your own hype man. And I'm going to do that by hyping myself up a little bit. Oh, yeah. And in doing that, I'm giving you permission to do the same. So you definitely want to stick to the very end. I also have a really cool thing that I'm going to be sharing and sort of putting out there for you to engage with me a little bit. Some fun and unique. All right, let's kick things off. I think I'm even a little bit out of breath because I'm standing up. I'm energized today. That's all right. We're going to keep things rolling. So when I talk about being your own hype man, being your own hype woman, what is it that I'm talking about? Well, that phrase, hype man, comes from, it's like a hip hop phrase. And the hype man was the person in the hip hop crew who was responsible for really bringing the energy, right? They were the person who was getting the crowd going, right? They would be on stage really supporting and backing up the main rapper. Or they would just be there to like support and lift the entire crew. And if you've ever been to a hip hop show, you've seen a hype man, right? You'll have the main dude or the main girl up front, and they're rapping, they're doing their thing. And then you'll see the person off to the side or in the background who just has like this crazy energy. They're just jumping around. They're like running to the front. They might be ad-libbing a little bit here or there. They might be contributing a little bit, just dropping some lines alongside of the main rapper. But they're not the focal point, but they bring this whole other energy. It's so awesome. And I actually had an opportunity to be the hype man for my boy VJ when he was doing his performances and everything. He wanted me to be the MC and the hype man for his show. So it was a lot of fun. I got a chance to bring that energy and support my boy as he was doing his thing. And there's a lot of famous hype men in hip hop. There's so many. And there's a lot of names that you recognize, like Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy was the hype man for Notorious B.I.G. That's who he really hyped up. Flava Flav. I don't remember what reality show that he really became part of like the national conversation, but for years, he was the hype man for Public Enemy. He was a group Public Enemy. And what was cool about Flava Flav is that he was just wild and zany. Like his just, he would wear the Viking hat and he had the big clock on the chain, and he just had just some really out there clothing and style, and he was kind of comedic. And in this instance, it was a stark contrast to the types of messages that Public Enemy was putting out there. It was a very conscious group, right? They were really talking about some social issues, some political issues, some cultural issues. And Chuck D, he was the main guy in Public Enemy. He was really bringing like the deep sort of lyrics and the deep content matter. And then you had Flava Flav, who was the hype man, who was bringing just like the crazy fun comedic energy. It was just really amazing. And Jay-Z, he had a hype man. His guy's name was Memphis Bleak, and he was a dude who would be on a lot of Jay-Z tracks, just hyping him up. So now you know what a hype man is, right? And again, like their role was to be there to hype up that main person. And it's awesome. It's a really cool thing to see in the hip-hop community. And in this conversation right now, I'm not talking about you going out there and getting a hype man or hype woman to be by your side, to gas you up, to talk, to just bring the energy, all that stuff. Last week's episode, I talked about assembling your empowerment team, and somebody in your empowerment team might play that role of supporting you and hyping you up in that way. But in today's conversation, I'm talking about how important it is for you to be your own hype person, for you to bring the hype. You've got to be that person who, on a daily basis, is able to turn on that hype machine and really talk highly about yourself. But here's the thing, like we don't like to do that. We don't like to gas ourselves up, to hype ourselves up because we feel like we're bragging. We feel like we're bragging. I don't want to brag. I want to be humble. You don't want to talk about your accomplishments. You want to work hard. You want to keep your head down. You want to do your job. Stay in the background, stay in the shadows. And then maybe it would be great if other people recognize those accomplishments and say, hey, look how great of a job you're doing. But we don't want to do that for ourselves. Guess what? You've got to really start working on that empowering conversation, on recognizing how far you've come, how awesome you are, how fucking amazing you are. You've got to start doing that for yourself. You really can't rely on other people to hype you up all the time. If you're following from last week's episode and you're working on putting together your empowerment team, then you are going to have people who are going to be able to talk highly about you, that are going to be able to hype you up. And that's an awesome thing to have those people who can support you. But that primary person, needs to be the person who you spend the most time with. That's yourself. That's yourself. And that just segues into why this is so important. It's important because this is all about that empowering self-talk. You spend so many hours with yourself. You have tens of thousands of thoughts that flood through your mind every day. How many of them are you hyping yourself up? And how many of them are you recognizing your growth? Recognizing the healing that you've done all these years? Recognizing the transformations that you've undergone? Recognizing the things that you've accomplished? Big things and little things, they all matter. You know what's really cool about this also, for those of you who are, really focused on your job or your career, that's a big priority for you. Well, in your job and your career, being your own hype person can actually help you improve. It's going to help you rise in the ranks. Because talking highly about yourself, it creates that energy. It creates a sense of confidence. It helps build that trust. You trust yourself because you're talking highly about yourself. And when you trust yourself, other people see it and they feel it. And that can lead to actual promotions. It can lead to advancements. And it all comes back to being your own hype person. Now, what I'm talking about right now, it doesn't work if you're bragging. I'm not talking about bragging, right? Bragging is not having that humility. Like being your own hype person, and in the way that I'm talking about, it involves humility. It's recognizing your accomplishments and your greatness. But it's not about trying to get other people to pat you on the back for them. It's not about, putting other people down to lift yourself up. It's not about a sense of false modesty. I don't like to brag, but, we all know the energy behind that sort of statement. And you know how you've felt when people have said those sort of things to you. You're like, man, get out of here. You don't even want to listen to them. And people see through all that stuff. So what I'm talking about is hyping yourself up in an empowering way, in a true way, but also in a way that allows for there to be humility, recognizing that, hey, you know what? There's constant growth. You are always evolving. And if you aren't being proactive on it, if you're not moving the needle forward, it's going to start going backwards. But every once in a while, you got to stop, turn around, and just look at how far you've come. And that's where that hype person can come in. Especially when things are getting rough for you, especially when you start to doubt yourself. Like that's when the hype person is like so crucial. When you start to doubt yourself, you start to doubt your abilities, doubt your skills. That's when you want that person in your, in between your ears, hyping you up. I know for me, when I've struggled in those areas, it has done wonders for me to stop and reflect on my accomplishments, to stop and reflect on my growth. To invite my own hype man in to start gassing me up a little bit. It's a beautiful thing when you recognize it and you understand the importance of it and you understand the usefulness of it, right? Like how to use that hype voice, because then it can just be a tool for you. It can just totally be a tool. And if this is totally foreign to you, that's all right. This stuff takes practice. It takes patience. And you can just start by start small, right? Just start by talking about and thinking about the things that you're skilled at. Like, what are your strengths? What are the things that, you're skilled at or you've worked at? And if that is even hard for you to come up with anything, then ask yourself this. All right, what do people compliment you on? Those are probably some of your skills, some of your talents. In what areas are people asking you for help all the time? That's probably an area that you're strong in. And those are areas that you can start hyping yourself up in a little bit. So start small, especially if this is challenging for you. Just start small. But recognize the importance of being your own hype person. And recognize, think about what would your life be like? Like if you think about an area in your life right now that you're struggling. Now think about what would it be like to have that voice in your head that was just constantly hyping you up around this area that you're struggling. What would it sound? What would it be like to have that person who is just, reminding you of how great you are, of how capable you are, reminding you of how strong you are, of how courageous you are, reminding you of how patient you are, reminding you of all the things you've accomplished that are going to help you get through whatever challenge you're facing right now.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
How would you feel about life? How would you feel about this area that you're struggling with? It would probably change your perspective. It would probably change your attitude. It would probably change the energy with which you bring into this particular situation. So that's why you want to have that person. That's what you want to connect with. So I want to share with you my story real quick. Real quick story about, when I felt awkward hyping myself up. So there's two parts to this. The first part is that I've been doing this business course. And in the business course, the guy who created it, who kind of walks through all the different sections, this dude is his own hype man to like the nth degree. I mean, he kind of, in my opinion, crosses over the line a little bit and doesn't always have the humility. But regardless, like, this dude does not shy away from hyping himself up. And he did this exercise in the course where, he asked people to list out judgments that you have about others. And so I was like, all right, I'll play along. Let's write these things out. So I started writing out some of the things that that maybe like triggers. That's kind of how I approached it. Like, what triggers me in other people? And one of the things that triggered me in other people was cockiness. I was like, it's interesting. When people are cocky, that kind of triggers me. When people hype themselves up, that was like a little triggering thing. Like, I didn't, if I sensed that, if I saw people hyping themselves up and I sensed that it was coming from a place of being cocky and lacking humility, like, it really, really turned me off from that person. So one of the other exercises was, once you recognize this thing that kind of triggers you, you ask yourself, okay, what would it be like for you to adopt that quality, for you to adopt that trait? So I was thinking to myself, all right, what would it be like for me to start being, and I just used the words that I wrote down, for me to start being more cocky? What would it be like for me to start talking about myself the way that the guy who created this course talks about himself? And it was just a thought exercise. It's not like I went to the grocery store and then just started like being cocky all over the place. You know what I mean? It was just an exercise. Like, what would it be like if I were to really just talk highly of myself? So that was part one. Now, fast forward, part two is I'm at play camp, and I was reflecting a little bit on that growth that I shared in my magic. Right? I was reflecting on the growth that I've experienced over 3 years, evolving as a leader. And so when it came time to share my magic in play camp, I started to feel uncomfortable. Like, I knew I wanted to share that as my magic, but then as the words came out of my mouth, I realized, oh my gosh, this feels really awkward. Like, it feels uncomfortable for me to talk about myself in this way. And I felt the need to preface with, now I'm not bragging here, but blah, 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 blah. I'm not bragging, but I've grown a lot over 3 years. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. Why the hell would I be feeling uncomfortable about speaking highly about my own growth? Like, I know that there is humility behind my words. I know that I'm not coming from a bragging place. I'm simply sharing and reflecting on my own growth. What the heck is wrong with that? That's like being uncomfortable saying, when I was 10, I was 5 feet tall, and then now I'm 6 feet tall. It's just stating what is. Just stating what is. And so I thought of that to myself, and I was like, wow, this is something I want to talk about on the podcast, right? Because you know what? I have fucking accomplished some amazing things. I'm pretty damn awesome in a lot of ways. And there's no reason why I need to feel uncomfortable about talking about them, that I should feel awkward about sharing the things that I've worked hard at, or I've been intentional on growing in. Skills that maybe I didn't have that I've worked at, and now I have those skills. Aspects of myself that I recognized maybe were weak, and I worked at it, and now they're strong. Areas where I recognize, like, you know what, I have an innate gift or talent here, and let me develop it more. What the hell is wrong with talking about yourself in those areas? The answer is nothing. There is nothing wrong about you hyping yourself up around your own growth, around your own accomplishments, around the things that you've worked hard at to develop. There is nothing wrong. We do not need to feel uncomfortable about talking about ourselves like that. We do not need to feel shy or awkward about sharing that magic with ourselves or with other people. And that's what I felt last week. I felt uncomfortable talking about it. So, here we go. I'm going to give you permission to hype yourself up. I'm going to give you permission to talk highly about yourself and all the amazing things that you've created and accomplished in your life. They can be big things, they can be small things. And the way that I'm going to give you permission is I am now going to share those things that I'm fucking amazing at. Yeah, I've got 5 of them. The first is that I'm a tremendous coach. Tremendous coach. I am able to create and hold such a powerful space for the people that I work with. I bring energy. I bring stories. I bring conversation. I can hear what's not being said, and I can get right to the heart of what's going on. That's a skill that I've been very intentional on growing, being able to get right to the essence. And I'm very courageous with my feedback. I'm very courageous and direct with my advice. And I'm really willing to go there with the people I work with my clients. Let's go there. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about intimacy. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about all of it. Let's go there. I don't shy away from that. At the same time, I'm very loving. I'm very empathetic. And I know when support is needed, when a little bit of yin is needed instead of yang fire. I can read and I can understand that situation. I'm a tremendous coach. I'm also an amazing teacher. I'm really, really great when it comes to taking some big, complex, heavy ideas and breaking them down into digestible chunks. That's what I've done in the blueprint. Taken some really heavy stuff, right? Some personal transformation stuff and broken it down into these digestible chunks. And I make learning and growing very engaging because I like that style of teacher. So I've become that style of teacher. And I've put that into all the things that I create, all the things that I put out there in the world. I'm very intentional about making sure that people can take action on the things that I'm teaching. I'm an amazing teacher. I'm a badass father. I am solid. I am a solid man. I am a solid king. I'm a solid father. Maya never has to wonder where support's coming from, where love is coming from. She's got a fucking mountain behind her. Solid. I'm also fun. I love to have fun. I love to play. I love to wrestle. I love to make believe. I love to put on costumes and run around the house. I love to do silly dances that would be embarrassing if Sarah captured it and posted it online. I love doing all that stuff. I'm also very nurturing. Very nurturing. I love getting down on her level and being that source of love and comfort for Maya. I'm incredibly involved as a father. When Sarah and I discovered we were pregnant, I left my job. I was the marketing director at a digital agency here in Atlanta. I left that job because I knew I wanted to have full freedom over my time, because I knew I wanted to be there with my child as much as I possibly can. And so I'm very involved. Day-to-day parenting, moment-to-moment parenting. And it's amazing. I love it. I'm an interested parent. I really want to, get into her education and her play and her exploration and her learning, all of that stuff. I really love getting involved in that. And I'm patient with her. as she learns, as she explores, as she, pushes against me and tries to test and see where there might be cracks. I'm very patient and I'm trusting. I let Maya go and learn the world, explore the world. You want to touch that? Touch it. You want to chase that animal? Go for it. Let's see what happens. I'm a very trusting father. I'm a badass father. I'm also an outstanding lover. Outstanding lover. There's no one out there who is able to make love to the body, the mind, the spirit, the ear, the way that I do. I don't mean literally in the ear. I mean through affirmations. I'm amazing at my affirmations. I'm amazing at really speaking right to your soul and spirit. And I love being a lover. I love it. I love being physical. I love being intimate. I love lovemaking. I love cunnilingus. It's beautiful to me. It's one of the most intimate things. And when I'm down there, I'm down there. I am an amazing lover. And finally, I'm an incredibly skilled podcaster. Yeah. That was something that I did not have all the time. 4 or 5 years ago, I had never stepped behind a mic. So I really worked on developing my skills, first as an interviewer, because that's how this podcast started. It was an interview show. So I started working on my interview skills. And then I started working on my solo episode, my monologue skills, like what I'm doing right now. And I just studied. I went out there and I listened to the top podcasters and I studied what they do. And I studied great speakers. I watched a lot of speeches online, and I just studied how people would shift up their voice and then their inflection and their tone. How they would use their arms and gesture and their body to communicate while they're on stage speaking. I brought all of that into podcasting. I'm one of the very best in the game in podcasting, hands down, 100%. And very few people are able to match my level of authenticity, vulnerability, realness, transparency. And that was always something that I recognized that I had, that I was wanting to bring into this show and into everything else that I created content-wise. I am an incredibly skilled podcaster. That right there was me hyping myself up. And you have permission to do the same. There's nothing wrong with you talking about how amazing you are in all your different roles. And I really want you to now take this opportunity because you have permission now. You can do it. I just did it. I created the space for you. Now go out there and hype yourself up. And one way that we can do this together, this is the fun engagement I was talking about a little bit earlier. I would love for you to email me. To email me those things that you are amazing at. Whatever it is, whatever you want, email me your hype up statements, just like I did, right? The things that I said, I said like, I'm a tremendous coach, right? So whatever it is for you, tell me what it is that you're awesome at. Tell me what it is that you're skilled at. Tell me what it is that you've grown. And when you look back, you're like, man, I've come so far. Share them with me. And what I'm going to do is in a future episode, I'm going to read them. I'm going to read them so that we all can be your hype man. We all can be your hype woman. We all can share in hyping you up and supporting you. Because we need that. We need more of that self-hype in our lives. We need some of that empowering talk. And it's time that you recognize just how badass you are and how far you've come. And again, this is not about receiving validation from others. It's not about that. It's not about impressing other people or making them feel like we're important. This is 100% for you. 100% for you to really work on being your own hype person, to work on bringing that empowering self-talk, to work on recognizing your growth and your transformation. And listen, we, myself included, we do not need to feel uncomfortable hyping ourselves up. We do not need to feel awkward speaking highly about ourselves. We do not need to hide. We do not need to be in the shadows. We do not need to wait for other people to potentially, possibly, maybe see how far we've come. That's not what we're looking for. So I invite you, think about some of those areas that you want to hype yourself up in and email them to me. Send them to me. I'll put them together in an episode. I'll make it anonymous. I won't use your full name. I'll read, first name and then boom, this is what you're amazing at. And we'll just put together a whole list of them. And that'll be how we kick off some hype, bringing it into our lives, bringing it into our day-to-day, into our minds, into our moment-to-moment, because you are freaking amazing. And it's time that you have that person, that you got your own Flavor Flav in your head. Whenever you need them, you can just turn them on and you can get that energy back. You can lift yourself up. You can get the crowd going. You can get the world going behind you and recognizing that you are so tremendously awesome. You have so many gifts, so many talents, so many passions, so many things that you crush uniquely in only the way that you can do it. And you've come so far. You've grown in your life. You've transformed. You've evolved as a person in all these different ways. And it's time for you to recognize it. So let me be the one to help you out and support you in that. Send me what it is that you want to hype yourself up with. We'll put it together. We'll share it in an episode. You can email me at mattcbivens@gmail.com. You can also send them over to me on Instagram. If you want to do Instagram and you want to leave like a voice note, do that. That'll be great too. I'll edit them together. That'll be amazing. That's like a download I got right now. That would be even cooler than having the emails. If you record yourself, hyping yourself up, I'll edit all of that together in this really beautiful, amazing episode. So you can send those to me. Send your audio notes. mattcbivens@gmail.com or hit me up on Instagram, Matthew_Bivens. Send me your audio notes and your emails, hyping yourself up. I'll put them in a future episode, and we're just going to practice being our own hype men and our own hype women. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the podcast. My name is Matthew Bivens, and here is to you having it all. Quick note about the Having It All podcast. I am not a doctor nor a licensed therapist. I'm a guy with a story and a passion for conscious conversation. My thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are my own. So please consult with your doctor or healthcare provider regarding any questions or issues you have related to your personal, physical, or mental health.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.